world champion. He's got the #1 plate. Who's going to be #1 though at the end of this Australian Grand Prix here in Phillip Island? All set and ready to go to launch away from pole position is number 89 of Jorge Martin. It's lights out, and we are racing here in Phillip Island. Huge wheel spin off the middle of that front row in second place for Marc Marquez. He is plummeting back down through the field. Well, he thought yesterday was a shocking start and a shocking run to first corner. It has been 10 times worse for Marc Marquez, who is right at the back of the pack. There he is now coming back through, but an awful start for Marquez. It's Martin, though, that leads.
Both of the Marquez brothers having terrible starts. That was Alex off the road in turn one. Marc Marquez is in around about 8th or 9th position. There he is, just up the inside of Enea Bastianini, and yet again, it's a Marc Marquez comeback mission that we're watching.
Oh, he'll be seething, won't he, there? Marc Marquez, big puff of smoke from that rear tyre as Bastianini delivers some instant payback as they lean on each other going through turn 4. Those two, of course, fighting for third in the World Championship. Bezzecchi now under all kinds of early pressure here from his VR46 stablemate, Pecco Bagnaia. Frankie Morbidelli looking strong as well, they're in 4th spot.
Yeah, Bagnaia got a great start, but of course he had to sort of swerve around Marc Marquez, who was having his old problems off the line. So Bagnaia up into 3rd, which is where he was around this stage of the sprint yesterday, but he knows that Jorge Martin surely can't gun it like he did early on yesterday. Binder making early moves as he has a go at Frankie Morbidelli for 4th.
How the heck is Marc Marquez in 6th place? He surely was outside the point scoring places as they swept down through the corner for the first turn. I mean, the first sector was just ultra aggressive from Marquez. Brad Binder in 5th place. Maverick Vinales has gone the wrong way on lap 1 to get on the factory Aprilia. 3rd down to 8th spots for the battered and bruised Spaniard.
So Martin leads from Marco Bezzecchi, who, we remind you, has a long lap penalty to serve in the first few laps of this Grand Prix. So that's another reason why Pecco Bagnaia will be quite keen to get the 72 out of the way, because he's not really in the same race as them. Here is Marc Marquez then ahead of Enea Bastianini. Maverick Vinales, another rider to go backwards early on, 3rd down to 8th.
How much did Marquez's big wheel spin off the line cost him? Well, Jorge Martin, who started alongside him on the front row of the grid, did a 1:33.8 from a standing start. Marquez is a 1:35.1. Marquez lost 1.3 seconds as Morbidelli lunges on the inside of Bagnaia into turn 4. Can't make it work, and now he loses that 4th place to Brad Binder as well. So Marquez is a 1:35.1 from that standing start. Lost 1.3 seconds to Jorge Martin. That was the damage from the big wheel spin off the line. Here's Bagnaia. This is Bezzecchi coming into his long lap penalty loop, so Bagnaia not really having to work too hard for that one. So Marquez then now slings it on the inside of Binder into turn 4. When do we start queuing up the Jaws music for Marc Marquez's charge back through this pack? Simon, you've got some thoughts.
Yeah, just one to point out is the wind is not stable. It's like, you know, gets stronger and then weaker, and you watch at the end of the front straight as they brake and try and turn right into turn 1, the wind hits them from the right, and it's really quite difficult for them to turn in, and is even a little bit unstable. They're really fighting with the bikes when it's strong. Have a look.
Yeah, it's very unpredictable as well, isn't it? The wind that gusts around this Phillip Island complex. Yellow flags are out in 6 to 2.
VR46 Ducati.
Bezzecchi, well, he caused a lot of damage in that horrendous high-speed collision with Maverick Vinales yesterday. Damage to his hopes for the podium here today were done with the long lap penalty that came his way. And having done the long lap penalty on the previous lap at turn 4, unfortunately, it's at turn 4, thankfully, for Marco Bezzecchi's case, a lot slower than his incident with Vinales yesterday. Yeah, and a punch of the grass there for a frustrated Marco Bezzecchi, just trail breaking through into that Miller corner. That crash has happened to so many riders down the years. Through we go, the final corner to complete a lap 5 of 27. Very much at the moment advantage World Championship leader Martin, 128. Another 128.2 from Martin. That has been better though by Marquez, who lunges through on Morbidelli at the duel corner. That's all because he's got the better drive, the better corner speed through 11 and 12, the left-handers, to set himself up for the slingshot and the slipstream then down the 350 kilometers an hour Gardner straight. Marquez at a 1:28.086, fastest rider on circuit and almost 2/10 quicker than Martin. think the big surprise this Grand Prix so far, I was just about to say, has been the lack of pace of Enea Bastianini, although he rides around the outside of Fabio Di Gianantonio, who went on the inside down the brakes into turn 10. Yeah, the beast in mid-128s. Of course, there's still plenty of time for him to come into his own in terms of tyre management. But at the moment, once again, it just doesn't seem to have the edge grip or the corner speed, particularly in that final sector, as now Di Gianantonio will try and force the issue on the brakes into the Duan corner. Thinks better of it. I'm sure he was right behind the Bezzecchi Viñales incident yesterday, wasn't he, Digia? So perhaps wary of going full attack on Bastianini in that particular corner, but again the beast stuck in the mid-128s.
Gianantonio was wearing some of the debris from his teammates' crash yesterday. Fastest of the top three once again last time round was Marquez. He was having some problems there, clearly getting rid of his visor, getting his visor stripped before the race got underway. I didn't notice when the race began. He was a little late looking up when the lights got underway. Did he get it stuck under his tyre? No, because he clearly retrieved it there, or he was at least concerned at where it was before he realised the lights were coming on and he had to get ready to get himself off the line. They could see it, so potentially it was stuck under his rear tyre, and that was why he just didn't get the purchase, because his rear tyre wasn't sat on tarmac.
Well, he's going to go sideways. He loves going sideways on his dirt bikes. Back at home in Madrid, does he, Marc Marquez? But that was a disastrous start. Not the way he wanted to kick off this Australian Grand Prix at all. Frankie Carcetti looks on. I don't think they can quite believe what they have just seen, as now Marquez has made big progress. He is really now starting to pile the pressure on Bagnaia. Bagnaia is going to start to feel the heat here very, very shortly, because out of the final corner, through the left-handers where he's so supreme, Marc Marquez now at 127.765, 3/10 faster than Jorge Martin.
Martin wide into turn one, and it's now put him right under pressure.
Yeah, key mistake there by Martin. He was just out of our picture, but he ran in hot in the Duan corner. He came over the line, nearly 6/10 clear of Bagnaia and Marquez.
Does Bagnaia
and
straight
now
now, he does.
over him. And now Bagnaia through the Stoner corner on the inside of Jorge Martin in 5th gear. What a move that was. Here comes Martin, though, with some instant payback. He picks up Bagnaia, and that allows Marc Marquez to come through. This race has come alive, folks, here in Phillip Island. The top 3 riders in the World Championship so far in 2024 going hammer and tongs, toe-to-toe here in Australia.
You bet it has, and in the end, Jorge Martin made a mistake and came out of it smelling of roses. His lead has been cut, but it's now Bagnaia behind Marc Marquez, although you can imagine Marc Marquez now with a snip of the race lead isn't going to sit in second for too long.
So Bagnaia led for, one corner here in Australia, in the blink of an eye, from 1st down to 3rd place. So yeah, that's obviously the clear message. There's no signal for him to change map or anything, so they feel that if Marc Marquez is going to pick a moment, it will be in that 4th corner, the Miller corner. He's not close enough to attack Martin going into the Duan corner. What a shot that is, looking towards Martin. Knee and elbow scraping on the tarmac through Duan corner. 3rd gear going through there, and over 200 kilometers an hour. Some shot that of Martin, who at the moment is doing a phenomenal job once again at the front of this Phillip Island Grand Prix. He's let it for all but 1 corner so far.
I think Bagnaia has made a mistake somewhere on the 1st sector. If you're watching him on the left-hand side of your screen, you might have seen it, but he's lost half a second to the 2 up ahead of him. So any hopes of Pecco Bagnaia striking back and taking a first Phillip Island victory are beginning to fade away a little bit.
And Marc Marquez sitting on the rear tyre. Martin is arming himself with a whole host of knowledge here. He will now have seen for a good number of laps just exactly the parts of Phillip Island where Martin is maybe susceptible to attack, where he's weak, and where his particular strong points are. Over Lukey Heights we go, down the hill into turn 10. We're now well into the second half of this Grand Prix, as once again Martin just making that mistake. It was not a big mistake, but can Marc Marquez punish it now as they come through turn 12? This has been an absolutely awesome ride by Jorge Martin in the context of the championship, in the context of what's at stake for the Pramac Ducati star. He is riding one of the races of his life so far. Look again, he goes so defensive. Marquez, though, trying maybe with the element of surprise on the inside of turn 4. Not close enough. Martin, no one out here. The Grizzly Ducati, they go side by side through turn 5. Martin was slightly offline. Did he go too defensive on the entry into Miller Corner? Left the door open, compromises exit speed. So for the first time in here in Australia, 3.5 laps remaining. It's the 93. Marquez, that leads.
So Martin blinks. Does he attack back straight away? Does he feel he has to attack back straight away? Is he in a better position to beat Marquez leading him than chasing him? He has a little bit of a feint there at the inside into MG Corner, and he's now going to find out what everyone else has found out this weekend, just how good Marquez is through these final 2 lefts.
Marquez then has gone from the hunter to the hunted here in Australia. Now we're looking from Jorge Martin towards Marquez. Through the final corner they go. 3 laps remaining here in Phillip Island. What a showdown we have in store as Jorge Martin launches it on the inside of Marquez into the duel corner. He does get it pulled down to the apex, hugging the inside curve there, so it's now Martin back at the front.
That's pretty clear, isn't it? Martin wants to lead here. He doesn't want to just sit behind Marquez and just wait for an opportunity later on. He wants to force Marquez to do the running and do all the chasing. Marquez essentially forcing Martin into an error by being so strong on the way into turn 4. Marquez is going to send it out the inside and forces Martin to give way.
Well, we said he was going to be aggressive. We said he was going to be hard, and that was really aggressive and really hard from Marquez. Ran Jorge Martin out to the paintwork. He is engaging. He is fighting fire with fire here, isn't he? The World Championship leader, but it is once again Marquez in successive laps at turn 4 that finds his way through into the lead.
Jorge Martin crucially saw Marquez coming and made sure he left plenty of room there up the inside. So does Jorge Martin then do what he did last time around and attack straight back into turn number 1? Perhaps not quite close enough on this particular occasion. He's 2/10 back as we come through the 3rd sector. That's probably just about enough if you're Marquez, unless Martin can have a massive final corner. And to be fair, he's having a pretty good one. He has closed the gap back to Marquez. Can Martin strike back again on the way down to duel corner?
Martin's got the better exit speed going through 12. He's coming from a long way back there. You could just see the impact of the wind on his right leg there as he dangled that right leg. It was getting properly whacked by the wind buffering. Shows Marquez's front wheel going through the southern loop. Not close enough. Clear blue skies up in the distance. Clear track ahead of Marquez right now. This is the first time in the last 2 laps that he's been ahead of Martin going into this turn 4. Martin is not going to be close enough. This time around, it's Marquez that hugs the middle of the circuit. He goes on that tight defensive line.
And this is the biggest lead that Marquez has had for sure. It's a 1/3 of a second through the 1st sector, and we're on the penultimate lap here of this gripping Australian Grand Prix. And is Marquez making the crucial move here?
What a performance this is by Marquez. You feel like he is really rolling back the years. This is vintage at Marquez, isn't it, right now? Further back, Fabio Di Gianantonio and Enea Bastianini have been wheel to wheel throughout the whole of this Grand Prix. Yellow flags out in sector 2. Doesn't involve Pecco Bagnaia. Frankie Carcetti watches on. Marquez then. It's Juan Mir that's taken a late tumble at turn 4 on the factory Honda. Marquez then now powers his way through the final corner onto the Gardner Straight. He's 4.4 kilometres away, 12 corners away from an unbelievable victory here. Half a second he is clear of Martin as we start this last lap.
A 1:28.056 on 26 lap old Michelin tyres from Marquez, and it might finally have broken the challenge of Jorge Martin. Surely he's only human, and he must be thinking now of the World Championship sitting there in 2nd place. Dare he take the ultimate risk to try and close in on Marquez when he's on course for 20 points and 4 more than his chief title rival?
Well, it was an amazing victory, wasn't it? His first in over 1,000 days at Aragon. His first victory for Ducati, followed up by that brilliant victory in the flag-to-flag race in Misano. But this will be right up there with some of Marquez's best career victories, and he's had a few. This is win number 88 in the beckoning, 62nd in the Premier class. His 149th podium incoming, and this will have a special taste, a special feeling, winning a classic race, an iconic venue like Phillip Island.
And potentially, we'll wait and see whether he's going to beat the rider who's about to be crowned world champion. It's definitely a weekend where the title battle has moved towards Jorge Martin, but the race itself is going to go towards the 8 times world champion.
Well, it was a shocking start to this Australian Grand Prix for Marc Marquez, but it is an incredible finish to the Australian Grand Prix. Marc Marquez brings the thunder down under. The number 93 wins an epic Australian Grand Prix here at Phillip Island. It's his 3rd victory for Gresini Ducati. It's his 4th success here at the fearsome Phillip Island. Jorge Martin does take 2nd place. He really did push Marquez for that victory here in Australia. Great show of respect between the top 2 in that Grand Prix. Pecco Bagnaia limps home in 3rd place. When was the last time the world champion was on a podium but over 10 seconds away from your race winner? Certainly in a dry race, a very rare occurrence there for Bagnaia. Cue delirious celebrations inside Gresini Racing. Marc Marquez was outside the top 10 when he hit the brakes for the first corner on the first lap after a shocking start. But he fights his way through to take one of the best victories of his Grand Prix career. That has to be a right up there. Yeah. Wins in Australia in 2015, 2017, 2019, and now 2024.